The girl needed to head home to grab a couple of clothes. Roy waited in the car, watching May head into the room. Roy lit up a cigarette in the car, looked up and saw a little girl checking him out. Right after, a gunshot rang out. May quickly bolted from the room, then scooped up the girl and they both piled into Roy's car.
Drive! Drive!
Seeing Roy was ticked off, May quickly explained this girl was her half-sister. She'd just fired a shot to scare her stepdad because he was a jerk, so she had no choice but to take her poor sister. Roy was fuming, but didn't argue anymore. She drove the car into a motel, planning to crash there for a bit. When the motel owner asked questions, Roy explained May was his sister. The owner was half convinced, but warned Roy he was tight with the sheriff, and if anything shady went down, he'd call the cops pronto. Roy got 2 rooms. May wanted to bunk with Roy.
Nightmare. Can I stay with you?
Just like that, May still ended up in Roy's room. When daylight broke, Roy had just opened his eyes and saw the little girl staring at him non-stop. The girl was cute, but Roy didn't want to get mixed up with them too much because he'd been diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer. If he showed his feelings, that would be unfair to them both. That night, Roy was smoking outside the door. Then the neighbor suddenly asked if he wanted to grab a drink. Roy didn't refuse, but once inside the guy's room, this dude said he wanted to invite Roy to pull off a big score and they could get 20 grand afterwards. Turns out this guy was a small-time crook and had already noticed Roy was a tough cookie. They'd each pocket 20 grand in profit.
Not where I'm going. Thanks for the beer.
Alright, I'm out of here. Roy didn't agree. Back in the room, he called the doctor, wanting to ask how much longer he had to live, but the doctor said Roy would have to come to the hospital for a checkup to get an answer.
I'll come pay you a fucking visit.
The next day, Roy saw some bad news in the newspaper. Turns out May hadn't just fired a shot to scare her stepdad, she'd straight up killed her stepdad. Seeing this news, Roy was pissed. Already on the run, he didn't want the cops on his tail again, so he immediately packed his bags, then tossed the newspaper in the trash and drove off from the motel. Roy's sudden exit left May heartbroken. When the owner pushed for the rent, she begged to leave the girl there, saying she'd find a job to cover the rent.
How are you bringing money back when you haven't had any here?
Oh, I got a job today. At this restaurant on the strip.
In the days he was gone, Roy had a bad feeling. He didn't realize he'd actually fallen for May. After an inner struggle, he decisively drove back to the motel. However, after searching for a long time, he couldn't find May anywhere. He asked the guy next door if he'd seen May.
I was just reading along, realized, hey, them girls in that article got the same name as these girls here. 1 + 1, you know. Listen, if I don't have a partner for that score, I could get busted. I can tell you something about some missing girls.
Don't wait till dark, though.
But Roy agreed to the guy's offer and followed him to the Target pharmacy that night. But just as they were about to make their move, Roy brutally took out the guy because he didn't want May's safety to be threatened in any way.